and welcome back. In my world as a musician and content creator, I find myself using an audio interface almost daily. Sometimes the need is simple for running my monitors at my desk while having one mic plugged in for voiceover recording, Zoom chats, or online lessons. But sometimes the need is a bit more expansive, like tracking drums or a full band in my studio, requiring up to 16 microphones at once. Of course, I could rely on a single audio interface to do all of this work, but over the years I've acquired a few different options so I can work most efficiently in whatever setting I'm in. This has led me to have a small 2-channel interface mounted at my desk to be a permanent audio command center with my computer, along with a larger digital interface that I use for both live and studio applications that I can run off a tablet and recall a variety of different presets and stored layouts. I've experimented with a third interface for the in-between work, where I may need more than 2 channels, but not nearly enough to go through the hassle of using my larger setup. As I've tried to find the perfect middle ground, I found a few features that I insist on having for this specific interface. 1. 4 XLR inputs. This is typically enough to do any sort of drum demos, virtual lessons, or even a small band trio session with minimal miking. 2. A bus-powered unit, so that I can avoid the need to run extra power, especially on quick projects or times where I'm recording remotely on the go. 3. Physical controls of all the channels, so that I'm not required to connect to a software control or deal with reassigning a single knob over and over again to adjust the various ins and outs of the interface. And 4, a convenient desktop-style design where I can easily see the meter display and make adjustments without having to fight through XLR cables for each channel, and something that's again easy to grab and go where I may not have an ideal workstation to operate out of. After doing some research on the various interfaces that met these thresholds and watching some videos online, I ended up settling on this SSL 12 by Solid State Logic. It seemed to be one of the few on the market that met all these standards, and it's one that I've seen a lot of other drummers that I follow online using. So after reaching out directly for their opinions, I was reassured this was a worthy investment, and beyond that, the reputation of Solid State Logic really speaks for itself. I ordered mine from Sweetwater, and if this video becomes helpful in you making your decision to pick one up, I have an affiliate link in the description, so you can use that to support my channel with no extra cost added to you. Sweetwater is just the best when it comes to selection, price, and quick delivery for musical equipment, and their customer service goes beyond what you'd expect from any company of this size. Upon opening this up, I was greeted with the interface, which appeared to be a very high build quality, a simple quick start guide without too much to go through, and finally, a USB-C to USB-C cable with an included adapter in the case your computer doesn't have USB-C style ports. I've seen others online complain about the appearance and look of this unit, but personally, I think it looks pretty sleek and matches the aesthetic of their iconic consoles and channel strips. I quickly put this to work for a demo of a snare drum I'd recently restored, and after getting the drums and mics run, I went ahead and got the interface plugged into my laptop, and it was instantly recognized within my preferred DAW, Logic Pro X. After getting all of my XLR cables plugged into the mics and on the back of the interface, I could grab a seat and get to setting the gain of each of these channels. This was a really simple and quick process with individual knobs for each channel and separate LED metering strips to get a sense of my level. After trying to get the input monitoring with the click and track from my DAW to play through, I did realize I needed to go within SSL's 360 software control to set the playback level initially, but after that, it was pretty much ready to go. Here's a quick look at the fully processed and raw audio of the 4 mic setup I used on this kit. Next, I took this over to my desk and did a quick vocal test of the 4K feature to see if I could hear any significant change in the tone on my voice. This is a test of my Shure SM7DB plugged directly into the SSL 12 with the 4K switch disengaged. This is a test of my Shure SM7DB plugged directly into the SSL 12 with the 4K switch engaged. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. I definitely notice a difference with the 4K switch engaged, and it's definitely brighter and a bit more clearer in the high end, but I can also tell that it's louder, and a lot of times people perceive more volume as sounding better. On top of the use for drum demos and voiceover work, I also was able to test this out in an online lesson, and after a bit of tweaking to my headphone mix, it worked great and allowed me to have 2 mics dedicated to the drums, along with a mic for my voice, and an extra channel to spare if I felt compelled to run a click or audio track through my lesson as well. I don't consider myself much of a guitarist, keyboardist, or bassist, but since I do dabble on a number of instruments, I've also found these 2 high-Z inputs on the front of channels 1 and 2 to be quite useful, since I mostly like to go direct when I'm laying down tracks for a cover video or something like that. These would also be great for demo sessions with a trio, where I might be using guitar, piano, and bass, allowing me to still have 2 spare channels for my drums at the same time. So now that I've had some time to use this and get acclimated to it, let me give you my final thoughts. Starting with the good, this interface met all the standards I was looking for. 4 XLR inputs, bus power, tactile controls, and convenient setup and use. Beyond that, it has the ability to expand via ADAT to add up to 8 more channels, so there's room to grow if I ever wanted this to be my main rig for a larger recording where I need more than 4 mic pre's. Another feature I really like about this is that the software control of the interface gives you tons of options in terms of creating multiple headphone and monitor mixes, but isn't necessarily a requirement in order to use it, since almost all of the necessities have physical controls. The software also allows you to save presets for quick recall, which could be convenient for making my setup with online lessons or simple drum demos a lot faster by just loading a pre-saved template for that application. Although a large portion of the recording I do is by myself, having 2 independent headphone outputs, each with the ability to have their own mix, is really great in situations where I'm recording with somebody else. Even more convenient is the talkback microphone built into the interface, which could allow me to communicate directly with someone in another room without taking away one of the channels on the interface. Now, as much as I have found plenty of features I enjoy, there are a few I find maybe not to be disappointments, but confusing or unnecessary to me in my situation. The first is the on-off button. I understand why it's there, so that you could leave it plugged into your computer without draining power from it, but for me, since this is bus powered, I'd rather just plug it in when I want to use it and unplug it when I'm not, without any extra steps to get going. I bring this up because on more than one occasion while preparing to record, I didn't realize it was switched off, and I spent time messing around with my cables and computer, only to realize afterwards it was just as simple as switching it on, which of course is on the back of the device and I didn't see it first. Another thing I find a bit odd or unusual is the XLR inputs on the back are oriented upside down. I'm not sure if there's an official protocol for XLR input orientation, and it's probably something I'll get used to over time, but I can't recall any other audio equipment I've used that has XLR inputs oriented this way, so I've found myself taking more time to plug things in, forgetting it's directed this way. When it comes to the 4K button, I do feel like there is a noticeable difference in character, but I assume this is a virtual emulation and not a physical circuit within the device, so part of me thinks this is something I should just do in post with a plugin or EQ, as opposed to record it this way from the source. I'll be the first to admit that I don't have much experience recording with real analog gear or a console, so I think sometimes I have a resistance to commit to things in a way where I can't go back and change it later, and that is one positive of digital recording, but I've been interested to hear how others feel about the 4K button, and if it feels like more of a gimmick or not. Lastly, as much as I find the balance between analog and digital control of the interface to be a nice mix, I do wish I could have a control on the interface to more simply control the input monitoring coming from my DAW. It's really not too complicated to make the adjustments within the software control, but it's really the only control I'm missing from doing most of the simple projects I do here without needing the software. Overall, I'm really happy with this purchase, and it's been serving me well as that middle ground interface between my small and large projects. For the price, I think it'd be hard to find another interface with the same amount of features and quality of the SSL 12. And on top of all of this, when you purchase it, you get access to a whole suite of free software, including a selection of virtual instruments, plugins, samples, and even a DAW. If you're interested in purchasing the SSL 12, I'd encourage you to use my affiliate link to Sweetwater that I've included down below. This is a great way for you to support my channel at no extra cost to you, and I can't recommend Sweetwater enough. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on future video releases. And until next time, thanks.